Frank Beard, the man with no beard. I think that it probably rivals some marriages. We're constantly asked what might be the secret behind the scenes. The answer is quite simple. We really enjoy getting to do what we get to do.
There is a moment in the 2019 documentary about ZZ Top where the drummer says something you don't expect a rock star to say. He doesn't talk about the hits, he doesn't talk about the money or the cars or the beards that made three men from Texas recognizable anywhere on earth. He says he found the people he was meant to play with. And then he says the quiet part, that he never wanted to quit and never wanted to get fired. 56 years, one band, one chair behind the same two men. That drummer was Frank Beard. And Frank Beard died on Monday the 17th of August at his ranch in Richmond, Texas, with his family beside him. He was 77 years old. And this weekend, just days later, Billy Gibbons is going to walk out onto a stage in Austin and play anyway. That was Frank's wish. But the man carrying it out is now the last one left standing from the three who started it. This is what happened. If you only know ZZ Top from the videos, you know the beards, the sunglasses, the spinning fur guitars, the MTV era that turned three Texas bluesmen into the most recognizable visual act of the 1980s. And you probably remember that one of them didn't have a beard at all. That was Frank. It became one of the great running jokes in American rock. The man named Beard was the only one without one. Billy Gibbons and Dusty Hill grew those chest-length beards into a trademark. Frank stayed clean-shaven or close to it, sitting behind them, saying nothing, holding the whole thing together, because that's what he actually did. He was born on the 11th of June, 1949, in Frankston, Texas, and raised up around Dallas. Before there was ever a ZZ Top, he was playing in local bands with a bass player named Dusty Hill. Outfits called the Warlocks and American Blues, the kind of Texas bar band names that tell you exactly what era you're in. Then in 1969, a guitar player named Billy Gibbons needed a rhythm section. Gibbons was coming off his previous band, the Moving Sidewalks, a Houston psychedelic outfit that had already gotten him noticed. Now he needed something different, something rooted. Frank joined him, and here is the part most people don't know. It was Frank Beard who told Gibbons to go get Dusty Hill. Think about that for a second. The classic lineup of ZZ Top, the one that sold out arenas for 50 years, the one that went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004, exists because the drummer made a phone call about his old friend. He built the band he then spent his whole life inside, and what he played inside it was the Texas Shuffle. If you don't know the term, you know the sound. That rolling, unhurried, absolutely immovable groove underneath La Grange, off the 1973 album Tres Hombres, the record that made ZZ Top a national name. Underneath Tush off Fandango in 1975. Underneath Sharp Dressed Man and Gimme All Your Lovin' and Legs, the holy trinity of Eliminator, the 1983 album that made them superstars. It sounds simple. It is not simple. It is one of the hardest things in American music to play well because it has to feel loose while being perfect. The players who understood that language, Chris Layton locking in behind Stevie Ray Vaughan, the great Texas shufflers who came out of the same tradition. They'll tell you Frank Beard was as good as any of them. He just did it with less credit and without ever once making it about himself. Billy Gibbons put it plainly this week. He called that backbeat the thing that kept ZZ on top. But here's what almost nobody outside that band knew. Frank Beard had been fighting something for a long time, and the last 18 months of his life were not spent on a stage. In March of 2025, ZZ Top posted a message to fans. Frank was temporarily stepping away from the tour. There was a health issue. They didn't say what it was. The message said he was looking forward to a speedy recovery. Fans read it the way fans always read those messages. A rough patch, he'll be back. And he did come back. That September, he returned to the road. But that was the last full chapter. Through 2026, he was mostly absent from ZZ Top's performances. A fill-in drummer sat in that chair night after night. The band kept touring. The name kept selling tickets, and the man who had built the rhythm section was somewhere else, dealing with something he and his family kept private. Then, at the beginning of this month, it got worse in a way that couldn't be hidden. ZZ Top abruptly canceled a California date at the Hollywood Bowl. Not postponed. Canceled. And the reason given was Frank's health. When a band that has toured relentlessly for over 50 years, a band that played on through the death of Dusty Hill in 2021, starts walking away from the Hollywood Bowl, people who follow this band closely understood something. That was not a rough patch anymore. 2 weeks later, he was gone. He died at home. That detail matters, and I want to sit with it for a second because it says everything about who this man actually was. Frank Beard had a ranch in Richmond, Texas, southwest of Houston, out where the city gives up and the land opens. Not a compound in Los Angeles, not a penthouse. A Texas ranch, an hour from where the band started. He was in hospice care there, and on Monday, the 17th of August, with his family members at his side, he died. His cause of death has not been released. The Fort Bend County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed the death. The band's publicist confirmed the circumstances. Nobody has said more than that, and I'm not going to speculate because his family has not invited anyone to. He is survived by his wife, Debbie Meredith, and 3 children. Now, think about what the previous 5 years had already asked of Billy Gibbons. In July of 2021, Dusty Hill died, 72 years old, in his sleep at home in Houston. The bass player Frank had recommended back in 1969. And when that happened, it was Gibbons and Beard who put out the statement together. 2 men standing over the loss of the third. They said they'd miss his steadfast presence. They called him amigo. That statement had 2 signatures on it. This week's statement has 1. Billy Gibbons wrote that he and Elwood Francis had lost a great friend and collaborator, and that the world had lost a great and true son of Texas. Read that sentence again and notice the arithmetic buried inside it. He and Elwood, the bass player who joined in 2021, the former guitar tech who stepped into Dusty's place. Of the 3 men who walked into a Houston studio in 1969 and came out as ZZ Top, exactly 1 is still here. Here is where the story turns, and here is where a lot of people are going to have a strong reaction. ZZ Top is not canceling the tour. They canceled 2 shows, Salt Lake City on the Tuesday, Colorado Springs on the Wednesday. That's it. And then the band announced that the big one, tour would resume this weekend, with 2 nights in Austin, Texas. Some people are going to hear that and think it's cold. A man dies on Monday and the band is back on stage by the weekend. I want to push back on that hard because the reporting does not support it. Billy Gibbons said in his statement that the band Frank was part of for 6 decades is going to keep on keeping on, and that this is what Frank had wished. That is not a press release afterthought. That is a dying man's instruction to his oldest friend. And we know this band has done exactly this before. When Dusty Hill died in 2021, ZZ Top took a few days and went back out on the road because Dusty had told them to. Elwood Francis stepped up from guitar tech to bass player and has been there ever since. This is apparently how these men grieve. They grieve in 4/4 time. You don't have to agree with it. plenty of families would make a different choice, and there's no wrong answer when you're burying somebody you loved for 56 years. But it is worth being clear about what's actually happening this weekend because the framing matters. This is not a band shrugging off a death and cashing a paycheck. This is a 76-year-old man doing the specific thing his dead friend asked him to do, in the specific city his dead friend loved, 4 days after he died. And it had to be Austin. The two shows are at ACL Live at the Moody Theater, the Austin City Limits venue, on Saturday the 22nd and Sunday the 23rd of August. The band's own statement explained the choice, and it's the most human line in the whole announcement. They called it one of Frank's favorite venues in a city that had been something of a second home to him. That's not tour routing, that's a pilgrimage. Austin City Limits has been the room where American roots music gets taken seriously for 50 years. For a Texas drummer who spent his life playing a Texas groove in a band that never once pretended to be from anywhere else, that room meant something. ACL Live has said the appearances will move forward as planned and that they'll honor Beard's legacy in the city. So these won't be ordinary shows. They're being staged as a tribute. And he's already being honored elsewhere. Government Mule stopped their set at Pine Creek Lodge in Livingston, Montana, hours after the news broke, and paid tribute to him from the stage. That's what happens when a musician's musician dies. The tributes don't come from the industry, they come from other drummers. Now, let me be precise about one thing, because the headline version of this story is going to get it wrong. Billy Gibbons will not literally be alone on that stage. Elwood Francis will be there on bass. There'll be a drummer in Frank's chair. The band has been using a fill-in through Frank's absence this year. The lights will come up, the shuffle will start, and from the back row, it will look like a ZZ Top show. But everyone in that building will know. Because alone isn't about how many people are on stage. It's about who's left who was there at the beginning. Billy Gibbons is now the last surviving member of the classic ZZ Top lineup, the only person still walking the earth who was in that room in 1969. Dusty is gone. Frank is gone. There is nobody left to turn around and look at. 56 years is longer than most marriages. It is longer than most careers, most friendships, most anything. These three men spent more of their lives in each other's company than they spent with almost anyone else. They were inducted into the Hall of Fame together in 2004. They toured through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the streaming era, all of it, without ever replacing a single member, right up until they had to. And now one man carries it. There's a particular kind of loneliness in that, and it doesn't get talked about much because we don't usually think of aging rock musicians as people who are quietly outliving everyone they ever loved. But that's the truth of what's happening in Austin this weekend. A man is going to count off a song he has played 10,000 times, and for the first time in 56 years, he's going to do it, knowing that the two people who helped him build it are both in the ground. And he's going to do it anyway, because they asked him to. So what do we say about Frank Beard? He was not the front man. He never wanted to be. In a band built entirely on visual gimmick, the beards, the glasses, the cars, the choreography, he was the one who opted out of all of it and just played. He made the phone call that created the lineup. He played the groove that made the songs work. He sat behind two of the most recognizable men in rock for 56 years and let them be recognizable. And when his health finally took him off the road, he didn't make a spectacle of it. He went home to a ranch in Richmond, Texas, and he was private about it. And when it was time, he told his friend to keep the band going. That's a whole life right there. That's a man who knew exactly what he was for. He said it himself in that documentary, that he'd found the people he was meant to play with, and that he never wanted to quit. He didn't. He was in that band until the day he died. Frank Beard, born June 11, 1949 in Frankston, Texas. Died August 17, 2026, at home at 77 with his family around him. 56 years of keeping perfect time for other people. Rest easy, Frank. If Frank Beard's drumming was part of the soundtrack of your life, and for a lot of us it was, do me a favor and put a memory in the comments. The first time you heard Lagrange, a show you caught, where you were. Those comments are how these men get remembered, and I read every one of them. And if you want more tributes to the artists who built the music we grew up on, subscribe. We cover them here with the respect they've earned. Thank you for watching.